Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about the idea of peace being a luxury we cannot afford. All right, so let me summarize this. I think with the 2022 war in Europe, the world needs a defeat, not peace. All right, so let me talk this through. So the issue, the whole question here, the whole world, the biggest question in the world right now is what to do. We don't talk about Bruno. We definitely talk about Vladimir Putin, but nobody's got an answer, right? But this is the answer in my opinion. Okay, so Vladimir Putin has really, he's the first person, I think I don't think it's ever been done, right? I don't think it's ever been done where essentially we need a defeat, not pieces. Let me explain, and this is the issue, right? So let's say it's a college situation, right? And actually, I don't think physical fights really happen that much anymore. But back in the day, like in the 80s and 90s, actually, no, that's not really, yeah. All right. A bar, right? I'm talking outside of my space here, right? I was about to tell you let's talk about a fight that happens at college. People don't fight at college, right? This doesn't happen, right? Not physically, not like fisticuffs, so there's a bar, right? Everybody roll, and here's what happens, right? The the boxing champion in the bar, says, "Hey, I'm upset with you, accountant," and the two of them roll out to the parking lot, right? So just trying to explain to you what's happened. I'm amazed that people don't understand why this has never happened before. This is truly unprecedented. And the reason why I keep pressing this point is we can't handle this the way we handled things before. This has got to be taken care of, right? This has got to be processed in the right way, because this is really no longer a Ukraine issue. It's no longer a NATO issue. It's a human issue, right? That's the issue, is Vladimir Putin has bullied the world at this point, right? And you knows what's to do with bullies, right? That's my point. Okay, so everybody stumbles out, it's 1:45, the bar closes at 2, but at 1:50 a.m. the boxing champion says, "I got, issues with you, accountant dude," right? Everybody goes out into the parking lot, and everybody, and the boxing champion just literally just starts pulping the accountant, just really taking it into him, right? Just, punches to the head, punches to the ribs, kicks, right? Just tearing him up, right? And here's the issue, right? Somebody says, "Hey, that one of the people, one of the pool players says, that's enough. You can't do this. This isn't right," right? And this is what's happened. This is the Vladimir Putin move, right? Let's say Vladimir Putin is the boxing champion, right? The boxing champion pulls out a mechanical projectile weapon, right? And then spins around and says, "All y'alls are gonna watch. And if any of you makes a move, you're going to pay the 10 pint price. Everybody in this parking lot. I'll take any one of you. I'll take half of you. I might take all of you." Right? That's the issue, right? The boxing champion says, "I'm going to do what I'm going to do to this accountant here, and you are all going to watch." Right? And if you get involved, I'll make your repercussions 100 times what I'm doing to him. That's where we're at, right? So we're all the ones in the parking lot, right? I'm not Ukrainian. You might be Ukrainian, right? But maybe you're American Ukrainian and you don't consider yourself fully Ukrainian, right? All kinds of things, right? But the reality is, I haven't had a lot of people in the comments going, "I'm Ukrainian," or they're like, "I'm / Ukrainian," right? And and the first part is more important, because I really don't care about Ukrainians that much, right? You hear a lot of different things. You legitimately hear a lot of things in the comments, right? All right, so but the reality is, we're the people in the parking lot, right? And when that happens, you got to make your choice, right? And the question is, do you stay in the parking lot and you help the situation and you say, "I'm not going to sit here and watch this," and you take your chance, right? Or do you "Oh man, I better get my keys, I better get in the old Winnebago and I'm out of here, bye," right? You have a choice, right? And that's where I'm coming at, right? We we do not have time or the luxury of peace, right? So what would a peace look like, right? The peace would be the whole world, like the peace talks succeeding, and then Putin gets Crimea acknowledged, his theft of Crimea acknowledged, right? And he's got to get it acknowledged, right? Because he rolled, I remember, right? He rolled unmarked troops into Crimea, took it over, and then 6 months later said, "Yeah, that was me." Right? Like you can't make this stuff up, right? Like, it's so incredible, right? So basically, so we would be acknowledging their ownership of Crimea, and then we would give them 2 parts of Ukraine that he liberated, air quotes, right? He didn't liberate nothing, right? It's theft. Like, it's to say, like, those liberations were the same action he was taking to, to take the life of a Mariupol mother and the baby in her belly, right? Like, both of their lives, right? Like, it's just outrageous villainy. That's all that's involved, right? Like, let's dispense with the, with the pleasantries, right? Vladimir Putin is a villain, and the world is seeing it, right? What the world isn't seeing is that capitulating and giving this viper even 1 inch of land invites every wannabe villain in the world to equipment up, to action up, and to take what they can get. Only by the defeat of Putin, the sheer and utter defeat of Vladimir Putin, do we say to the world, we will not be threatened. You're going to have to take, you said you'd do something, what are you going to do? Because we're not going to back down. We don't allow tin pot dictators to tell the world what it's going to do. That's where we're at. There's no time. We don't have the luxury of peace. It's not even a time issue. We don't have the luxury of peace, because if we give him peace rather than a big, fat, like radiant defeat, it invites this action to happen again, right? And not in 70 and not 80 years later, but in 8 years later or 8 months later, right? We have got to, the community of the world, have to say, close the sky. And not just close the sky over Ukraine, but close the sky over Poland, right? And other nations that already have Russian drones dropping in, right? This is already outside of the scope of Ukraine. This is already and honestly, I think on February 23rd, it was a war in Europe. The best way to understand this is a 2022 war in Europe with threats to the world. That's what we're looking at, and that's why this is so fundamentally different. And that's why we do not have the luxury of peace. There must be a swift and resounding defeat of Vladimir Putin. It's the only thing the world can accept at this point if it wants safety for 8 months or 8 years or another 80 years, right? Because we did have a world bully 80 years ago. We showed them what for, and a peace lasted for 80 years, right? And the world needs to tell every plotting Disney villain out there, because that's good grief, that's all Vladimir Putin is just, he's a Disney villain with worse style, right? Like, it's so outrageous. Like, his villainy is just so outlandishly dramatic. You're like, I can't believe somebody could be doing this in the 21st century. He's doing it, right? He's doing it. We don't have the luxury of peace. We must hand him a gong-ringing defeat, full on. That's the only path through this. It's the only path through this. That's my opinion. What's your opinion? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.